Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Universal Lens. I am, as always, John Emilio.
And I am, as always, Henry the Machine Beltra.
The machine? What the hell's the machine?
No idea.
Oh, crap, sorry.
No idea. The machine that keeps on going.
The machine that keep like the Energizer Bunny. Just keep on going.
You got to keep on going, brother.
Of course.
Yeah.
What's the other option?
Yeah.
Option, keep on going. Option B. Option B isn't a great option.
Yeah, I would
So
say.
just keep on going.
How's that for a life lesson, right?
Yeah.
You got to keep going.
Just keep going. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, man. So, how's everybody been? Not that I expect anybody to answer, but how's everybody been? If you see a little bit of a different setup, we got some constructive criticism from one of our young listeners. So we kind of spread ourselves out a little bit. I'm throwing a shameless plug with my book in front of me. And we're just kind of evolving this little by little.
It's not shameless. It's absolutely warranted.
No, I know, but it's,
You know.
I don't know why I've never done that before.
Yeah.
Just kind of put it up. It's the name of the show, so my pretty face is in the back. You can't see it, but it's okay.
Hopefully, you guys can appreciate the Mateo sign.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. That was our new sign that we have,
and that'll give you some sort of let's say subliminal messaging about the Universal Lens, and then you're gonna see John's book right there, the Universal Lens.
You will buy my book.
Yeah, and 100%, 100%. You should buy the book because it's a great life lesson. It's a great tool, really. It's not even a lesson; it's a tool.
We're dropping subliminal messages in.
Yeah. Well, Yeah.
I'm sorry. What'd you say? I'm seriously joking. Buy it if you want to buy it. Don't buy it if you don't want to buy it. It's just I just figured we have it, so we might as well put it up because it's what the show's about. So.
Yeah. No, I think it's gonna help, and it certainly has helped me. I always say, I could just imagine. I've had several anxiety breakdowns in my life, and they're not pretty when they happen. And you want to try to hopefully avoid feeling that way as much as you can.
Well, the anxiety breakdown always comes down to that whole: are you identifying with the anxiety?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And that's kind of what happens. You just innocently, bump into the wall, and before you know it, you're being whisked away into was it Wonderland?
Alice in Wonderland. You're going down
the rabbit hole,
the proverbial rabbit hole, which is what we talk about. Don't mind my mini mug.
Yeah, he's a straight male.
This is not mine. Mine's Tigger's. My wife says mornings aren't pretty, even though she is, but mornings aren't pretty. Oh my god!
Yeah. So you bump into this wall, and you don't want to. You don't mean for it to.
No, of course not.
But when it happens, you kind of have to assess as to, hey, you kind of, the ego or the thoughts won this one for the moment, but reassess.
Won what?
My battle.
I love you to death.
My battle.
You're like a one track mind.
My battle.
Yeah, your mind goes there all the time. Yeah, it's battle.
You understand that?
Yeah, but so that's, and it's not just you. I'll just use that example, right? I mean, we all have mental hang-ups, behaviors, just the way we've been taught to react to things in our lives. It's just funny that even after we're approaching a year, right? We've been doing this since November.
It's the weirdest thing. It's
but you're, by the way, time out. You're 1,000 times better with the language than you were in the beginning. But it's funny how it, like, even with the slightest lapse of awareness, how that old behavior wants, like that old pattern, 100%. Wants to just poke its head up and sees if it could grab you and drag you back and like kind of hold on to you. Like, well, let's get John, not to use Henry, let's get John back into that battle mentality. Yes, it's that fight to stay aware. It's not a fight to stay aware.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But it's weird.
I meant to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny because I don't come from a military family.
No, I know. Just stone and tile.
Right. So I don't come from a military family. However, this could be, what is it, Freudian?
Freudian,
so
yes.
My mom, I always used to say,
Sigmund Freud.
My mom was the head of the house, and we used to call her Hitler because she was.
I'm sure she appreciated that.
Because she was the one where I was 4 and 5, and you would think if you just assess a normal 4 and 5-year-old of today, that was not me. I would wake up like a regimented soldier, and I'd do my best.
She ran a very strict
Oh
household.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, that has a lot to.
So that's probably where the terminology comes from.
Of course, because you were taught to. You were taught to act a certain way, and by acting a certain way as a child, you adapt a certain mentality. That mentality becomes behaviors. Behaviors become your identity, and that's how you approach. Now you paintbrush your whole life with that.
Interesting.
Everything that we do has that same approach. So if it's very, militaristic, like you always say, like we've spoken about this point.
Yeah.
You've always like your go-to has always been, you gotta
The war,
fight, the war, the fight, the war, the war, the
battle.
war, the battle, the battle. And even though you're not physically in any battles or in any fights or in any wars, and you're not an aggressive person like that, but your approach to any issues in life becomes, okay, me versus problem. Who's going to win? Let's go. And that sets you up for a mental struggle. But it's funny how, like, the simplest things as a kid, like your mother trying, and by the way, probably in the most benevolent way possible, she wanted to instill values in you, or discipline, maybe is probably a better word.
doubt.
Discipline. Make your bed, clean your room. These are things that most parents want their kids to do. But maybe the way she went about it, or the way you guys did it, it kind of, for you, because everybody absorbs things differently. For you, that's why I always say, you can't treat one child like you treat the other child. You could treat them the same, but you can't teach one child the way. Every child has a different learning curve.
There are details.
So for you, your brother, maybe that went in one ear out the other. Right. For you, it went in one ear and said, ooh, yes, regiment, and like these hierarchies formed in your brain, right, in your mind, and like, that's the way I'm going to approach life. Like everything. Fuck it. Yeah, boom, battle. I succeed here. Fight. And then you come across things like we spoke about, anxiety and stuff like that, where the worst thing you could do is have a fight with anxiety, because you will never win that fight.
And it's a lesson that you learn every day.
Yes, sure.
If I can say that, because
sure you can.
It's a lesson you learn every day. It's a practice you never put down your sword.
Fucking guy.
I when that came to my mind, I had to know that.
There we go.
But you understand?
Yeah, man, it's funny. But yeah, no, you can't. So yes, I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
It's weird. And the other day, when you mentioned the thought about no, let it sit at the table with you. It's almost like
yes.
Let that thought sit at the table with you, as opposed to me, who wants to, slice it from humanity, off with your head.
Who wants to slice it from
you know what I mean? Like, no, you shouldn't be here. And you're like, no.
Allow it. Yeah.
It's going to be here. And
acceptance.
It's a counterproductive way of thinking about your issue, is I'm going to terminate it. You're not.
And that's where we said, that's exactly what we were talking about. When you try to say I'm going to terminate it, is the opposite. So that's the complete polar opposite of what acceptance is.
Yeah.
Acceptance isn't done with the intent of getting rid of. It's with the intent of allowing to be there. So eventually your mind stops paying attention to. You're not trying to get rid of it. The more you try to get rid of something, especially when you're dealing with any kind of mental health, whether it's anxiety or depression or whatever it might be, right? The more you try to push it away or to fight it off, the more the rebound is. So the harder the rebound, the harder you push, the harder it rebounds back to you. The harder you push, the harder it rebounds back to you. The harder you push, the harder. And people spend 20 years of their lives in this back and forth, not realizing, like, why can't I win this battle? It's because you have to realize you got to stop fighting the battle. There's not a battle to be won. It's like, and that's just, it's not even you. It's a mentality of our world. So there's a drug problem. What do they call it? What do they call the fight on?
The war on drugs.
War on drugs, right? There's crime. We got to fight crime. What do they call it? The war on crime. The war on this. Our mentality as a society is, if there's an issue, there's a war. We must fight this war. We must win this war. And and I find it hysterical. And I didn't come up with this. I mean, I've learned this just by following, like I said, spiritual teachers like Eckhart Tolle spoken about this, Sadhguru Tolle spoken about this. When we use terms like the war, it's a fight. We're engaged in a fight. There's no fight to be won. There's an issue to be solved. But when we're making it a fight, it's a must win. There's your mentality changes. You're not allowing an issue to be there and try to resolve it. You're actually just trying to eradicate it. And while that might seem like the logical thing to do, but your mentality becomes everything becomes this war on everything, a war on everything, a war on everything. And then you take it down from, drugs or crime or society issues to anxiety and depression. Where's your mentality going to change? If we've been always taught everything is a fight, we have to fight for this, fight for that. Here comes anxiety. I got to fight anxiety off, and I got to fight depression off, and I got to fight these OCD, obsessive compulsive. I got to fight these thoughts off. The harder you push them, the harder they push back. It's and I just I know that the war on drugs isn't the same as like anxiety, but it's that mentality that kind of gets, it's like a paintbrush that now we use for everything.
I get it.
And we broad stroke everything with the same, and that comes back to language, but it's with anxiety and depression, it's the worst thing. It's the one piece of advice I tell you, take to the bank. The worst thing you could do, like I'm not a therapist, but I will tell you this, the worst thing you could do is have a war on anxiety and a war in your mind, a war with yourself with depressed thoughts or sad thoughts or egoic thoughts. Fighting them, it's like holding a balloon underwater. You're going to hold it. Eventually, you're going to let go of the balloon, and that balloon's going to pop up and hit you in the face. It's not going to go away, right? It's just going to pop back up. The best thing to do is put the balloon on top of the water, take your hands off of it. It's going to stay for a few minutes, but eventually, you know what's going to happen? The current, the tide, the wind is going to float it away from you on its own. The more you try to hold it underwater, you're keeping it right near you, and when you let go, it's just going to pop back up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been experiencing, where, I have this default, let's say, knee-jerk reaction to want to stuff the balloon underwater. And, sometimes you're successful in keeping the balloon underwater for a few minutes.
You can hold it.
And so you have this...
Till you get tired.
You have this in and out situation where, you have your good moments of the day and you have your not so good moments of the day. And you have this ebb and flow of feelings that, when you're feeling better, you're like, oh, you notice. And you're like, hey, I'm feeling better. And then I start to say, I wonder why that is. I wonder what I'm doing right. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
It's like it's weird how the human mind can take you from one trap to the other.
It's like a game of whack-a-mole.
It takes you from one trap to the other. So that now you're questioning, well, what did I do right? Well, what did I do right?
What did you do right?
But you don't know. And then when there's a time of the day where you're feeling super anxious, super, distraught, well, assess why. Why did I slip into this? And how do I go back? Because I think ultimately I didn't accept the balloon to just float next to me.
No.
And I'm a little confused. I'm a little confused as to, why I come in and out. And also
why you come in and out?
Yeah, why I...
Yeah, no, I know.
Why I have these fluctuations. And my I don't know, I don't want to say obsession, but my observation with observing why this happens. It's just very strange. It's just
I mean, so you're noticing that that at certain times of the day, it's easier to deal. And this is, by the way, me too. I notice the same thing. I try not, I don't really harp on it. I just allow, if my mind attaches to something, I'm aware of it, that it's attaching. I realize that it's attaching to something. We're speaking about negative thoughts or things that might consume you. And I allow them to be there if that's where my mind wants to go, and I kind of refocus on where I want to be. The goal isn't to be perfect.
There you go.
So the goal isn't to have this I'm going to, if your goal is to have a clear mind all day, void of thought, you have as I was told once, you have the goals of a dead person.
Okay.
As long as we're alive and we're breathing and our minds have, this electric pulses running through it and our neurons are firing, there will be thoughts and random thoughts, and certain thoughts will adhere or will grab a little bit more attention depending on the situation or what's going on in your life. And if you're going to sit there and go, wow, why was I so calm 20 minutes ago? I forgot about it. And now and we spoke about this a little bit last week. Well, it's like, because you weren't focusing on this problem that your mind created, even if it's a real life situation. But it's funny how a real life situation goes away for a few minutes. I'm not saying the situation actually disappears, because obviously we know that doesn't happen. But it's amazing how in your mind that situation went away for a little while. And you were totally like, fine. Or me, anybody, like, I forgot that this happened. Like for 20, you ever hear somebody say that, for a half hour there, I forgot that, this had happened to me, whether it was loss of a loved one or, so it's that whole thing. Well, okay, time out. So let's think about this a little bit more. So what's happening here that I forgot about it and I'm okay all of a sudden? The problem, that issue didn't go away. It's because you weren't focusing on it. So you have something you could learn from there. It's not about being perfect all the time. It's about realizing when your mind does go back to it, you don't mourn the fact that you're back there or be like, oh, I'm back. I forgot. I got to take the test tomorrow. Oh my God, I forgot about this. Oh my God. No. Don't mourn the fact that you're back there. Realize that your mind wants to go back there. And if it is something that needs to be dealt with, well, then you could logically and intelligently deal with it. But to create this whole, well, this sucks that I'm back here, and last night. Okay, you use examples from your life a lot. When I would go to back in the day we had baseball, especially the Cooperstown year and the year before that, was when I was like at my worst with my obsessive compulsive disorder. I would say to myself when I got home from a tournament, like I would be at the game, I would forget everything. I would feel light. I would feel clear, happy, like engaged, joyful, energetic. And the second I got in the car and I started driving home, remember those thoughts, John? Like it would come right back. And instead of, because I didn't have the knowledge back then, I hadn't worked on it, and I was still in the infantile stages of all this for me, I'd be like, oh, I want to go back to there. And I would make it a point to look forward just to the next practice, to the next game, because that was my escape. That was my way out. That was where I was. And then I started realizing, wait, why can't I? And that's, when I started reading more about spirituality and even, yes, and with the therapy and ACT and all that, that was great. But that's where I started realizing, wait, why can't I just say, hold on, these are life situations that I have, but I get to focus. Like, if I'm in pain for some reason right now, why can't I still enjoy this moment that I'm in? I'm going to put my focus here. It's not to say that that's not happening. I'm not like repressing that. I'm not trying to say, no, that doesn't exist. I'm saying, but why do I have to wait until the next practice to find any joy in life? I can engage this moment as it is, right? So it's not about being perfect, because during those, there are going to be times where your mind just automatically gets engaged in something. And that hierarchy becomes, oh, my mind wants to focus on this. Maybe something more enjoyable. We're bullshitting. We're doing that. You're at a party. You're somewhere where your problems go away and people start living their lives. And I need distract. You ever hear this? I got to keep my mind occupied. So the only way you can be happy is to keep going and going. And even if it's something that, even if you're exhausted, but you just got to keep going because we don't want to sit with our thoughts. Right? So it's not about being perfect, where we're always in a happy, joyous, clear state, because that's an impossible. I mean, look, if one of you out there like that, please call in. I'd love to talk to you and interview you. I mean, I don't even know a spiritual teacher who is quote unquote Zen 24/7, 365. They have feelings and emotions. It's just they don't engage them. They don't engage those thoughts. They see them, but they go back to where they want to go back, their control. So it's not about them being perfect, which you're saying then, like, oh, what the hell? And then you create another hole, or I do, or whoever does, right? It creates another hole. Well, this sucks. Why can't I do this all the time? Why can't I be like that all the time? You're creating a impossible scenario for yourself because nobody is Zen 24/7, 365. You can be, and we use Zen just as an adjective to describe it, right? You can be Zen, but still have negative thoughts or worrisome thoughts or depressed thoughts or anxious thoughts or emotions or feelings. They're present. You're just not engaging them. So it's not about being perfect because when you say that, now, like, what's your end game in that? Like when you're not.
Yeah. So obviously, you slip on a banana peel is what you do, and
And it's okay.
Yeah, but you know what happens is it's so painful while you're in it that it's almost like your mind says, "I don't ever want to feel that again."
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of the.
So I don't ever
say the
no
more.
So hold on. So when you say I never want to feel that again, is that not saying I'm not accepting these thoughts? It's the complete opposite of what acceptance is.
That's right. That's 100% right.
Because again, if as a person, I'll use myself as an example. If I only want to live life when things are, or be engaged in life, or practice acceptance, or say I'm accepting when things are good, quote unquote, right? When things are going fine, when the stars are aligned. Well, when the stars aren't aligned, I'm not going to use acceptance. That's when acceptance is probably
That's the most valuable.
That's the most valuable time to use it, is when things aren't going right, and you can still say, well, this sucks, but that's not my life.
Right.
That's a moment of my life. That's something that's happening in my life. But my life happens every single moment. So I'm not going to make that thought, that issue I'm dealing with or I'm going through, dictate the experience of my life right now. I mean, that's what acceptance is. It's saying, hey, I know you're there. Work problem, I know you're there. Work issue, I should say. I know you're there. Or, family issue, I know you're there. Or health issue, I know you're there. But I still live my life now, wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. Like, whether it's sitting home alone or going for a walk or being at a party, it could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be something where you're engaged in something. You could just be and say, I'm here right now, experiencing life as it is. Sure. And right there's a release almost.
You're right. And just hearing you say it, I feel lighter. Just hearing you say it. It's the strangest thing. It's I feel lighter.
I know exactly what you mean.
And like the other day when we had a talk, you feel better. You feel lighter. Doesn't mean a few hours from that moment.
It's not that the issue disappears.
It's just so captivating, and it's so. And as a practitioner, I'm able to notice it. It's weird because it's almost like you still slip on a banana peel, and I can tell you, I just slipped on a banana peel, and I know.
And you keep going.
And
I
keep
know, moving forward,
right?
Yeah.
And it's just this. There's an obsessive component to things where, you just when you slip on a banana peel and you're in your funk, there's this obsessive component to it that you just say, "Oh, what do you say? Real, and the real, and the real, and you're next thing you know, you're reeling, and you're like, wait a minute, and you notice you're reeling, and you say, whoa, hold up, this is a good moment to take a minute. Let me engage, chill, start breathing. So for me, the way that I like to meditate or breathe is I like to, and these are things that I learn along the way about myself. It's not like I knew this from day one. Like, I just found out about this about myself, that if I sit there, it has become easier for me to clear the thought process.
Sure.
Right?
Everybody has their process that works for them.
My little trick or little tricks are that once I start breathing, I actually say the words in my mind, breathe in. And while I think the words breathe in, I feel like I am the air.
You visualize it.
And this technique of saying, breathe out, and then I am the air, there's no room for another thought. There's no room for anything else. There's only room for process. And then as I do this, I realize, hey, you went this long without that obsessive thought, without that intrusive thought. So now you come out of your meditation and you say, okay, chill. And then for the next X amount of minutes or hours, you feel like there's a little bit more. The boat has, somehow reached, say, some sort of stability. But that prick, that balloon comes back. And then
it will come back.
Right.
Even if you allow it to float away, it'll float back, but it's not about it. It's not about it returning. It's about your relationship with it, with trying not to have it there in the first.
So I guess my next stage of development would be about these, what I would call relapses. And in other words, I'm labeling it a relapse just to say it's reintroduced. So for the moment, let's say,
Yeah, but even the word, even when you say relapse, it's almost leaning towards, oh, I failed, it came back. I did this, came back. It's not a relapse. It's the natural ebbing and flowing of the thought process.
Okay, so whatever.
So visualize that. Visualize not a relapse, not that you did something wrong. Just visualize your mind, the wave, the tide pulls out, and then the tide pulls in.
Okay.
And then the thoughts pull out, and then the thoughts pull back in.
So I guess
not under your control.
Not under your control.
Not under your control. You can summon thoughts up. Can you control every thought that pops into your mind?
No.
No. Do things pop into your mind that, where the hell did that come from? You didn't control that thought. So what makes you think you can control? If you try to control the thoughts as they come in and out, I'm going to try to find an analogy. It's like trying to control the tide. How the hell can I control the tide? I can't. Can I stop a wave from coming in? No, I can't stop a wave. The wave's coming, it's coming. Let it come, let it roll through, and then let it pull back out. I'm not going to fight the wave.
Yeah.
Right? So why are you trying to control and this is like OCD 101, right? Because with people who experience obsessive compulsive disorder, especially Puro, it's all thought based, right? It's just thoughts. It's not even, we don't have like tics where we have to shut lights off, because there's different forms of obsessive compulsive disorder. For Puro, it's ruminating thoughts. A thought pops into our head. We didn't want that thought there.
Yeah.
We didn't call it up. It goes against everything that this person values in their life, and it scares the shit out of them. And now they get caught into a game of, I got to justify this thought. I got to make this thought go away,
or fight it off,
or they try to fight it off, and that's a losing battle again, right? It's that whole war mentality. It's a losing battle, and it's not about that. It's about, I didn't want this thought. That's great. My mind brought it up. I go back to what I want to do.
Yeah.
Now I make that sound super simple the way I say it right there. Yes. But that becomes super simple if you just keep practicing acceptance.
Yeah, I think I'm in that. So I've grown, but every day you grow and you'll say you grow more. And
Sure.
You become more experienced, and I think that's one of my next hurdles is. Yes. This guy, right?
I love it. I'm sorry. I mean, it's
so
just
what are my next battles?
I'll keep pointing it out to you, man.
Yeah. One of the things that I
want to work on,
right? Thank
you. Yeah,
is that ability to when the thought reintroduces itself, to not freak out about it.
No,
almost as if to say,
see it.
Hey, you stepped away, because we're all sitting at the table together, and that thought stepped away to go to the bathroom or to make a phone call, and it came back to the table. I gotta keep, even though I don't like that guy, I gotta keep acting like, okay, they're all part of the table. They're all part of the people that sit at the table. It's tough because the impact that thought has, and it's those negative chemicals that come up when you start, those negative chemicals come up in your body, and you start reacting to it. You start, feeling different. You start, your heart starts going, your mind starts going, and I could imagine with OCD. And you know what? This makes me question: do I have a sprinkling of OCD?
I don't think you could have a sprinkling of it. I think you either experience it or you don't. I mean, you could have a little bit of obsessional thinking, but it wouldn't be obsessive compulsive disorder. So you either experience. I mean, I hate to say have because that identifies. So you either experience obsessive compulsive disorder or you don't. Can you have a little bit of obsessional thinking? Yes, but you're not experiencing what OCD would be.
I think
you tend to harp on thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. OCD's has themes to it. Like this, there's themes. Even though themes change, there are themes. There's a specific. It targets certain things, values. You just have a worrisome thought. It's really like what you're speaking about is very anxiety based, which is a form of obsessive compulsive disorder. But you don't. Your flavor, what you experience is anxiety, and then you just harp on the thoughts a little bit. I see where you try and make the correlation, but they really don't. Yeah.
All right. So, but it's that obsessive component that I.
Yeah, but I think anybody with anxiety has that. If you're an anxious person, you're going to obsess the thought. It's just the way. That's what anxiety is.
Part of the package.
Yeah, part of the package. If you have an anxious thought, now you're going to harp on that anxious thought because it scares you.
Yeah.
That's the obsessive part of it. Yeah, but the OCD takes it, much further. But it's all in the same triangle. It's like a triangle of, here comes a thought, anxious. It's like the thought causes anxiety. Anxiety then causes almost a depressed feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky triangle that you get caught in. That's what OCD. Like like this. It's this 1, 2, 3. You kind of in this loop.
Yeah.
Right. We said this last week, right? What does it all start with? It starts with a thought.
Yeah.
The anxious thought, the angry thought, the depressed thought. The thought produces the feeling, right? And then this feeling produces that feeling.
Yeah.
And then here comes another thought. And then you kind of keep just repeating that pattern.
And then what I compare this to is the following. This is a tire.
Yeah.
And it's the whole day. And guess what? And guess what? There's no more treads. And at the end of the day, there's smoke, there's a bald tire, and it's not even 7:00.
But what is the tire your mind or is it? Yeah, all right. I mean, because it's spinning.
The tire is not only your mind, but also your physical. And
the physical will be if you're attached to that tire.
And so, like, what ends up happening to me, in my personal case, is
You're exhausted.
I'm exhausted.
Oh, dude, of course.
I am exhausted. And you know what's funny? One of the things that you know about me is that I love the gym. I love the gym. The gym has been, let's say, one of the most positive things in my life to keep me.
Yeah, it's an outlet for you.
It's a great stress reliever. It's one of the most beautiful things that I can imagine. But when you're in this mode, and the gym is good for you, so you'll force yourself to go to the gym because you know it's good for you. And you know that once you're done, you feel accomplished. You feel like, hey, that's a good thing that you did there. It can't be bad. You did something good for your body, but consequently, you did something good for your mind. You can't even make it to the gym.
You're spent.
You're spent. And I have the luxury, I have the fortune of having, the best kids in the world. And so they make it a point. They know, because I've instilled how important the gym and exercise in your life is for them. They we're going to the gym today? And I turn to them and I say, I can't. And I could see in their mind, you ought to go. So I've kind of said, yes, I'm dreading it, but I'm going to go. And yesterday was one of those days. So yesterday I went to the gym. John, you had to see me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't lift the same weight. I couldn't do the same reps. I couldn't do the same exercise. I felt like I was 87 years old.
Yeah, but mental exhaustion leads to physical exhaustion, right? So if you're mentally exhausted because you've been attach to that tire all day long, then yeah, it's going to take a toll on you. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I went thinking this is how you
Yeah, you go against the grain.
This is how you help yourself get out of this.
And it's not about doing the same weight. It's about showing up there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I know this.
Yeah.
Just like I know everything. You know what I mean? Like, and this is the trick of mental health is the weird part is when you know it. You know, and you can see it. You know?
Oh crap.
And I think that's one of the biggest, I guess it's a challenge, but it's also an incredible like advancement because you can see it, because there are people that are in the loop and cannot see it and they don't even know. They just feel like this is all part of
because there's no awareness. There's no awareness at all there at that point.
So for me, I can be in both worlds if that's, if you understand my analogy. I can be in both worlds and I can observe both worlds. But when it happens to be that you're in the underworld, you're like, when will I ever get out? And then you're out of it. And then you're in that world and going, you can observe both. It's a weird place to be. And having the personality that I have, I guess, when these thoughts that come in that you say, they're going to come in. They're going to come in. Enjoy. Hey, pull up a chair.
Well, when you say, but I'm in this world and then I'm in that world.
When I say the world is meaning how you feel. So,
So yeah. What I'm trying to get at is, and this is the absolutely the spiritual part of it. But at all times, you're the one who's watching the world. You're never in one world or the other world. You're always the one who's watching this happen. Like, and this is the part that gets a little, sometimes difficult to explain. And this isn't to sound elitist or to sound like, oh, you don't get it. And what's happening to us in our lives is part of what's happening to us physically in this experience that we have of life. But at all times, and this is where acceptance and awareness is at its core, at all times, we actually are. What we actually are is not this flesh human being, which is our place on earth, is this awareness that sees it happening. So when you could say you see yourself in one world and another, right? Not to say who or what, but who or what is seeing that in both worlds. That never changes. That who or what doesn't change the way it feels, doesn't change the way it thinks, because it doesn't feel, it doesn't think, it doesn't have emotions, it notices it all. But when you realize that noticing is what we really are behind it, what happens on the outside, all of a sudden takes a back seat. And you're like watching this happen. And yes, there's a disconnect to I don't want to say to the humanity of life, because it's not a disconnect, but there's a disconnect to the emotions that are related with everything, where you could see the emotion, you're feeling it, but you're not that emotion now. You're not. So you're not going between two different worlds. It's just you're noticing your mind doing this and you're noticing your mind doing that. When it becomes, well, I'm in this world, well, now you've given an identity to that, right? I mean, this is, it's, and I hope like this is resonating a little bit with people. Like when you say, I'm in this world, well, you've identified with Henry or John in this world. Like for me, it was the baseball world. I identified with that. I wanted that. Then there was a John that had the anxious thoughts. I identified with that. I didn't want that. But then I wanted to go here and then I wanted to go there. I just never noticed at all times there was this one entity behind it all that was seeing it happen until I started allowing that ebb and flow to just naturally take place and say, but I'm not, if I wanted to be, how can I want to be one John, but then there's one mental state, but then there's another mental state, and then there's one mental state, and there's another mental state. How can I be flip-flopping between these two? You're really not. Your mind is just ebbing and flowing in thoughts. It's you're attaching to them constantly, and you're getting flipped and flop back and forth.
Yes.
When I just started saying, no, I'm okay. This is what my mind wants to think right now. And I notice that's what my mind's thinking. And there's a connectedness with something that I don't know what it is. And I can't explain it to you because I'm still alive. Maybe Maybe in the afterlife, we'll all see each other and go, oh, yeah, you see what I was talking about? Now I get it. And I just kind of notice it happening and notice it happening. And I'm almost like I'm watching a movie of my life, right? It's almost like you're watching a movie of your life and you're the person in the audience, but there's nothing for you to say, laugh, cry. You're just watching this movie. And the movie is our life, right? So why attach to one scene over another scene? Just notice this scene. Okay, if it's a happy scene, enjoy it. Absolutely. Here's another scene. It's a shitty scene. Okay, allow it to be there. Don't want it to go, don't wish it away, because maybe that scene's going to stick around a little longer if you do that.
Right, and I would say that act of
I'm stuck.
Of wishing it away, or not, that's where the pain really.
That's where the pain is. That's where the suffering is. You're choosing to suffer there. You don't even realize.
No, yeah, you don't. I don't notice it.
Yeah, I mean, look, and again, I speak from uber experience, and still to this day, we've talked about it. I'm not I'm not perfect with this, and nor do I ever say I am. Yes, I have practice with it, but I'm not perfect with this. It gets me at times. We've said it on this show where I've given examples of how I got caught up in a mental stream for a day or for an hour or for 2 hours where I got, something ticked me off or triggered me and I became identified with that thought again. It happens.
It happens.
I don't beat myself up when it happens. I say,
I beat myself up.
I noticed it happen. And the best part of it all is once you start doing that, you actually start seeing like you are now, which is great. And I didn't realize it. You're noticing your behaviors. You're noticing the attachment. You're noticing, I'm beating myself up. You're noticing that. A majority of people who are even on this path don't notice when they're beating themselves up. They get stuck in that whole, I'm beating myself up again. Like they lose that self-compassion. It's not about beating yourself up. Like having that awareness is tremendous. And you start noticing more and more behaviors that you're like, wow. I see where my mind's reacting right now. My mind's getting jealous, resentful, angry, happy, sad, depressed, anxious. Like you notice your mind doing these things and you're like, hey, I'm noticing it. I don't have to follow it, but and where there's a way. And like I said, at times it's louder, at times it's not. But beating yourself up does you no good, right?
So I think there are levels of awareness, I would say.
Just looking at the clock.
You start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just use a 10. Let's use a 10.
Yeah. To have a barometer. I
think there are levels of awareness. I obviously I don't know where I fall in that. But it's
why do they have to be levels?
No. Let me explain.
Yeah, please.
But it's apparent to me that what you just mentioned, where you're noticing, I'm in that realm where I'm noticing. Like I notice a lot, and it's weird because it's almost like
your awareness. You're not to be like Star Wars, but your awareness is getting stronger, young Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
the Force is strong within you.
This and you know what? It brings me some joy to know that.
It should, because it's a release. It's a disidentification of the mind. It's creating that space more and more.
So it brings me some joy, some true joy. But at the same time, when we started this episode, we were talking about how, the pitfalls of slipping into a rumination or being swept away by
trying to be perfect,
by a thought, trying to be perfect. And when that whole loop happened, or when that thought, hey, I'm back, when I'm back, I think my next stage to, let's say, work on, or is that when that thought decides to come back to the table, that I have to have something something constructive to do with that thought, such as, hey, welcome back.
There's especially in the beginning, there's always things you could do to notice it and kind of not attack it, right? Or not push it aside, but to say, hey, I see you, right? Like Scott Adams guy with the desktop.
Yeah.
Put the icon there and say, I see the icon.
That's right.
I'm not going to click on it.
Right. That's right. It's an icon on your desktop.
So analogies are great, right? Because human mind likes to work like that. So especially when you're getting, sometimes some people get awareness right away. They get acceptance. They just understand not the concept, but they get it. They start doing it. Other people, and I was one of those people, I needed a little bit of, I like those analogies in the beginning because it gave me a reference of how it worked until I was able to wait, I don't need an analogy anymore. Now I just get it. But they're great. Those analogies are great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. And then, as you have mentioned in other episodes before and in our private conversations, it's good to open up that icon every so often and check it out and then see what happens and close the icon. Not,
That's the control you do have. That's the control you do have because you're saying you want to put your focus there. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, at the stage I'm in now, I look at that icon in fear. You
don't want to poke the bear,
right?
Yeah, but you're not poking the bear. I would embrace that icon because if it's there, it's there for whatever reason your mind wants to put it there. But the more you don't want to click on it, is you're actually trying to push it away. It's like this. Yeah, I know you're there. I know you're there.
The more boogeyman it becomes.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. The more boogeyman it becomes. It's like, I know you're there. I know you're there, but I just don't want to see you. No, instead it's got to be, I know you're there and I'm going to look right at you. But what I'm looking at is nothing it's nothing more than a thought, perception, a projection of the future, a memory of the past. It's nothing more than that. It's not now. It's not my life in this moment. It's not. I can project my life 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Sure, I can. I could get depressed about things. I could easily, any of us could easily, if we started looking into the future, have things that would drag you down. Like, your mind would want to go, and what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if that happens? And now you're going to be trying to spend your life trying to answer all these, well, what if questions. And you know what you're missing out on? You're missing out on life. I mean, we've become so complicated as a species where our lives are lived for the next moment, but never this moment. And it's great that there's a push for mental health and awareness and even spirituality again. Like I could see it, like even my YouTube. I have YouTube TV. Instead of commercials, sometimes they say enjoy a moment of Zen, and you could click on the ad if you want. If you don't want, you could, and they leave a screenshot of dolphins, a mountain, nature, scene of nature with some just birds singing in the background, and say enjoy the moment. So I love that they're doing things like that, but it's still always a mental projection of something, right? And that's how people look at awareness and spirituality nowadays. It's okay, well, it's, I have to feel like this, or I want to think about this, and you're still never. It's like looking at a sunset and picturing the sunset instead of actually looking at the sunset and not naming the colors you see, not trying to label the smells you smell, and just saying, I'm looking at it and I'm present with it. That's when you actually are living your life outside of your thoughts. When you're looking at something and say, I'm just here with it. I'm not describing it right now. I'm not trying to figure out what it is. I'm noticing it. That's like one of the best exercises for awareness is look at something and notice it, but don't label it. Look at a tree. The thoughts are going to come up. Just don't follow them and just notice the tree. Don't worry about the color of the leaves, the shape of the bark. I mean, there's exercises you could do where that's helpful too. Don't get me wrong. But if you really want to practice like just pure awareness, look at something, don't label it. Just notice it. And you'll get these little moments of, holy crap, I felt like I was like there with it, but I can't explain because I wasn't thinking about it, but I was there with it. I mean, that's actually living in the moment outside of the mind. And that's the control that we do have, right? To say, I'm going to use you when I want to use you. I'm not going to use you when I don't want to use you.
Do you think that level of exercise can happen once you pass some primary level?
It's yeah. I mean, I don't personally, and again, the analogies of levels works for you, and that's great. I don't personally like to use levels. I like to say I have awareness. Mm-hmm. I'm going to heighten my awareness, right? Because I'm putting a hierarchy when I keep saying levels. Like, okay, I got it. So what happens when I get to level 10? This is it. I'm Zen.
Sure. It's for example.
I know, but even that kind of sets you up to think you have to graduate to another level. I say I work on my awareness, and I work on it constantly. I
Okay.
work on it every day. I could stare at a tree and my mind's going to go green leaves, brown bark, pretty flowers. It does it to me constantly. And then I'll come back and go, notice the tree. And all of a sudden, another level, you would say another level, my awareness gets heightened a little bit more when now I'm outside of thought. I'm just there with the tree.
Okay. Can I ask you something about that?
Yeah, sure.
So when you say, okay, look at the tree.
We kind of all over the place today, but it's okay.
No, but this is great for I love this. So when you say look at the tree,
Yeah.
don't label it, don't describe it, don't just
Look at the tree. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't have to be a tree. Yeah,
so
whatever you want.
basically just let's use a tree.
Yeah.
Chill with the tree.
Chill with the tree.
What are you looking for, and how long does this have to go on?
I'm not looking for anything, and it doesn't have to go on for any specific period of time.
Okay.
There's no rules.
Right. But
Yeah.
it's almost like, but at some point you had a feeling where
Yeah. See, so you know, and this is one of the I think personally, from my experiences and from what I've kind of studied and learned and read about and experienced with other people, one of the biggest catches is you're waiting for your mind to tell you just experienced awareness. We wait for our mind to say, there it is. But once we hear there it is, you know what it's not anymore? Now it's the mind again. So, and you can't live, so time out. Just to take it back a few seconds. I know we don't want to go too long, but just to take it back a few seconds. I'm not saying, and I don't think I've ever insinuated that you live in this state of awareness constantly. You can't. The mind will always come back in. Sometimes you get 10 seconds of it, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But those little gaps in between where you're looking at something, and I'm not thinking. So I was looking at that black panel just now, right? We have a black panel behind us for kind of sound, so the sound doesn't bounce everywhere. So I'm looking at the black panel. And when I first looked at it, what did my mind say? Black panel. Black panel, Velcro on the top. Okay, and then I just kept looking at it. And I let those thoughts float by. And then for 3 seconds, nothing. I just noticed it. My mind didn't say anything. And then it came back in. Black panel again. So it's those gaps. In those gaps is where you notice, right? You're not the thought. When you have that thought, you've now passed that pure moment of awareness, to say, because now you're thinking again, right? So it's in those gaps is where you start to realize that's where I was really noticing it. And those are the moments that you practice on, right? It's not about not having the thought come back up. It's those, know those gaps of wait. And it's a thought that tells you for 3 seconds there, I wasn't thinking. So when you're noticing something, there is that moment of awareness, there is no thought. Because once thought comes back in, you're now engaged with the mind again, which is fine. Absolutely fine.
Which is going to happen.
We have to. We wouldn't be able to survive if we didn't, right? Or else we'd just be like, and nothing would get done in the world. So no, but it's those gaps of awareness and noticing something is where you tap into something that then stays there in the background constantly. And you're able to say, well, I'm always noticing things. I get to engage when I want to a certain extent, right? The mind will get strong and pull you at times, but you get to have more control over this part of it, the focus, the noticing.
So that's a muscle you develop.
It's a muscle. I mean, it's not a muscle, but it's a skill. It's a skill you develop that we forgot that we had, by the way, naturally,
right?
That we forgot we had because our minds have gotten so intelligent. We've gotten, we keep intelligent. We become these intelligent species, which is great, but we've become so identified with our minds and every thought that we have that we forgot that the basis of life is living in the present moment and having this awareness and presence and noticing things instead of always thinking of the next moment. And which is why our minds say, oh my God, what's going to happen tomorrow? What happens the day after? And what happened yesterday? And you remember the way that was. Remember the good old days. Remember, you ever hear the saying, remember the good old days, right? I think we spoke about this once more. There was a scene in The Office where Andy, I forgot his name.
It's Andy Sudeikis?
No.
Andy's the guy who, the good-looking dude who's going out with the other good-looking girl in the office. He's a young.
Yeah, well, I forgot his name. I can't think of the actor's name for
forget
me.
his
Yeah,
name.
Nardog was his nickname on the show. But anyway, there's a point towards the end of the series where he says, you know, I wish I would know I was in the good old days when I was actually in them. So it's like me looking back and say, baseball, remember the good old days? And like, oh, those were so great. Instead of while I was there, just being present and not needing it to be different than it was. And then you actually are in the good old days. You're experiencing the good old days because you're not waiting for that moment to be over to go back and say, oh, that was such a great time. Well, it was a great time. Absolutely was a great time. But you get to experience it firsthand, right? Not through, I'm happy here, so I just want to stay here. And where you're not really experiencing it, because even while you're there, your mind is constantly, you know, the next joke, and that's great to get engrossed in the moment. Don't get me wrong. But that was just like a little analogy when he says, you know, to experience. It's great to somebody who tells us we were in the good old days when we were. Well, you can be like that. It's just to experience every moment as it happens and not needing it to be different. And you won't have to look back at something and say, wow, that was a great time. You know, so.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
Yeah, that is. I know, and I try not to get too heady with stuff like that.
No.
But it's what the basis of this really is. I mean, you got to start looking at life outside of your thinking mind, and I think that's what this show has always been about. If we don't look at life outside of our thinking mind, we're constantly trapped inside. We're identified and kind of meshed with our mind, and whatever our mind says is what our perception of what life actually is. Where it's really not. It's a projection or a memory. Life is a projection or a memory, unless you're living it right now.
Man.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm sorry if I lost you guys.
No,
you know what? Sit on it, chew on it, and practice it. And it's something that you eventually start to understand a little bit more without needing to understand it by definition or by meaning. It's not something with a definition or a meaning. It's like you said before. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. But not a feeling of happy or sad or ecstatic. It's a feeling of connectedness. That's probably the best way to put it. I'm connected with something that I don't know what it is. I don't know. I'm not sure how it all pans out, how it works, but
and you know what? I feel that. Like I feel it. I feel what you're talking about. I could totally feel it.
And that's that connected. That's what that's the awareness. That's the present. That's the higher intelligence. That whatever word label we want to put on it for the sake of describing things. That's it. That's it. So don't beat yourself up. Nobody should. Dude, if you ebb and flow with thoughts, don't beat yourself up over it. It's just a thought. Let it ebb when it comes in. Let it go back out. You know, and if you do get caught up in your mind for a little bit, okay, pull back out. You know, refocus where you want it to focus. It happens, you know, as long as you're a human being, your mind's going to keep pulling you. It'll happen to me, I'm sure, at some point during the day, too, where I'm going to get pulled off into some worrisome, anxious thought or emotional thought for a second. Somebody will say something and I want to get grabbed by it. And okay, I'm a human being. It's going to happen. Okay. And you notice it and you go, oh, there it is, and move on. And that's where, you know, that's the main ingredient. When you're able to say, oh, there it is. I see it. Okay. Choose not to engage it. And you move on.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's good stuff.
It is good stuff, but it's that those last 15 minutes maybe got a little, you know.
No, because I think
a little deep in the spirituality part of it, but that's the important part of it.
I think that's why we do it.
Yes.
Think about it. It's not just, it's not just to make yourself feel less suffering.
No.
It's about getting there. It's about the ability to get there. The ability to say, tree.
Yeah. It's about the ability to notice that what you're looking for is always been there and it's always there. You're just not seeing it.
Yeah, you're blinded.
You're blinded. You're just not noticing that it's there. Yeah, you're blinded by media, social media, toxic people, triggers. Name it. There's
life
stresses, real life situations. There's plenty of distractions that'll pull you away from it. But just to notice that it's there and know that it's always there. Like, I didn't find something that you don't have or you guys don't have. No, I just became aware that it's there. I became aware that I'm aware that it's there. You know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is crazy. And that's why, that's why when we speak about things, it's nice to give those examples of, like, today was more don't be perfect. Last week was it starts as a thought, because it gives you a basis. And these are all entry points into awareness. So everything we talk about is an entry point with awareness. It's the main topic is always awareness, but the main ingredient is the tomato sauce. So today is going to be a little bit more garlic. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit more salt. The next week's a little bit more pepper. The next week, a little bit more whatever. I don't know, nutmeg or whatever people put in their tomato sauce. Sugar, parsley, basil. Every week the other ingredients change, but they always revolve around one thing: awareness. So this week was this. Next week will be a different topic, but we're always you're always going to hear that same, the same repetitive main ingredient, because that's what it's all about. So on that note, I think we're there.
We have landed on the moon.
Like in India, South side of the moon, they landed.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you didn't know about?
Well, part of my situation is that I turned off the alerts of everything.
Of media. I did that a couple of years ago with all social media stuff.
I turned it off.
Yeah.
Turned it off. There's a lot of
distractions out there.
It's too.
It'll pull. So that, and we're gonna. This will happen. We'll just keep going. There's a lot of distractions out there, but distractions aren't what I need. You need. You don't need more distractions. You need to sit with what's actually in your mind, and that's how you get. Not to say get past it, but that's how you learn to really accept it. Distractions only pull you away because it gives your mind something to chew on. But once it's done chewing there, it's going to want to come back.
No, yeah.
You can live in a world of distractions, or you can live in a world of acceptance.
What you know about me is that I love the political world.
Sure, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. You enjoy it.
It wasn't good for me.
It's not good for a lot of people, I think.
It wasn't good for me. Why? Because I take it to heart. I extrapolate. I turned it off. And my partner told me, he goes, well, you can't turn off the news. He goes, you should be aware of what's going on, because
you can watch the news for 5 minutes in the morning.
You're in the business world, so you kind of you got to know what's going on. I'm like, you are right, but I got to protect this. I got to protect this, and I got to protect this. And right now,
look, whatever's going on with your business, whatever's happening on the news is not. It's not. There's no answers even for me. There's no answers for me on the news. There isn't. You want to watch the news? I put the news on for 5 minutes in the morning. 15, maybe I say 5, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Whatever channel, 4, 2, 7, whatever channel is on, and I'll watch the local news for 20 minutes just to see fires in Maui, hurricanes are coming, whatever, just to get a basis of what's happening in the world, and then that's it off. I don't If I'm checking email, maybe I'll go on Yahoo for 2 seconds and just scroll once just to see. Quick. Let me see what's. But not to get lost in a world of click and bait. No. It's just peruse 2 seconds and I'm out. But I don't get any notifications either. I don't get notifications, which is probably why my Facebook and Instagram pages really don't move, because I don't engage very quickly, because I don't get notifications when somebody likes or comments sometimes. Or I'm not on enough to push things anymore, really. But it's a choice that I make because, like you said, you're trying to protect. You're trying to work on something greater than, this.
Right.
So
no, ever since that, my screen time has been less. Or let's just say, I've actually because I'm actively doing other things for
work and stuff like that. Yeah,
so
you need it.
I'm doing more productive things with the phone. How about that?
So if you're using it for 5 hours, you're not using it for 5 hours. Let's just say 5 hours because you're watching the Donald Trump arrested or whatever's going on. You're actually checking emails for work. I'm responding to emails. I'm doing a search on something that I need to look about, or a piece of real estate, or this. It's all productive stuff. That's where it's a great tool. So
that's where I'm at.
Yeah, good for you, man.
I I would love. I'm a news junkie. I love political news. I was up on everything, and I have to admit, I am not up on everything.
And there's nothing wrong if you are up on everything. It's when being up on everything is what your life is about. And like that's what's important, like to know the latest and have a discussion about the latest and engage the latest and have an argument with somebody about the latest, why my guy's right, your guy's wrong. That's where it becomes unhealthy. Plus all the stuff that they feed you on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I turned it off.
Yeah, no, you're not. You're one of many people who I've heard do that recently, lately.
And I think I don't know. I think I'm better for it.
You can't be worse for it,
right? Because
that's a distraction.
Yeah.
All it is a distraction. All it is a distraction. Those are all man-made situations, people's opinions on things. Your reality in your life in your moment, in this moment, whatever's happening there, is not affecting your reality right now. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters is what we're doing right now.
Yeah. And maybe next time we have our next episode, I have another topic that's somehow related to this. About how you just mentioned that what's happening out in that other reality is not affecting your personal reality. So there's books I'm reading and everything, part of them are like real estate investing, where you look at a snapshot of a market and you go, it's impossible to penetrate. Well, if you look at it that way, it's impossible to penetrate. But if you look at it the other way, where keep searching, and when you find one that you can penetrate, you do it and you penetrate, because you gave yourself that limiting factor in the beginning where, it's impossible. So if it's impossible, then
well, that's sure. I hear you.
So
absolutely.
There's never ever a possibility, because you're always
the language we use makes a big difference.
You're always going to just talk yourself out of every single progress point that you can possibly make. Well, okay, then you're done. So it's kind of that perspective, kind of that, so my perspective is I shut this off because I don't want to keep adding that negativity to my mind stream.
Well, also you could, again, and we spoke about this week, you have a limited amount of energy that you could invest in things. Do you want to invest it in nonsense, which is a distraction, which keeps you away from the issues you're trying to resolve? Or do you want to invest it intelligently and wisely and in a more positive manner to the things that are important that you're trying to work on?
Yeah.
And
that's what it comes down to.
Sure.
And plus, my life isn't easy right now. I have a lot of balls in the air. So why give some attention to that?
That has no bearing on your life. So
yeah,
good. I'm glad you did it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good.
We're good. I hope. Look, I hope you guys really enjoy this, and but more than enjoy it, I hope you take some lessons from it. I hope that what I talk about and what John talks about resonates. I keep putting it out there,
Well, oh yeah, sure, but that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, we just keep putting it out there, and
hey, don't take our word for it. Go find out for yourself.
That's 100% true, right?
Go find out for yourself.
100% true.
I can tell you till I'm blue in the face. Go find out for yourself. There's people I've talked to, and I've told them the same thing, and some of them have come back and they're worked on stuff, and they notice a difference. That's it. There's a heightened level of awareness in people that like, wow, I get it. I don't get it maybe completely yet, but I get some of it. I understand this, that, the other thing. I see that. I could see those things happening. So it's great, so do it for yourself.
And you're improved more today than yesterday.
Yeah, do it for yourself. You could listen to me till I'm blue in the face, but do it for yourself. Find out for yourself if I'm full of shit, if Henry's full of shit, if we're not. You'll see that we're not, but I would rather you find out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. All right, on that, I think we set a new record with how long we've gone.
Oh, shit.
My laptop's to my left right now. We kind of changed things around, so I keep looking over. Yeah, we're over an hour. So,
sorry.
Okay, don't be sorry. You got an hour of quality stuff for free.
I mean, that's true.
Sorry.
You gotta admit.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We don't intend to, but
we're going to charge you, and this is your charge. Your charge is that you have to spread it share it, forward it, like it, do whatever you can to penetrate this into your circle, so that somebody in your circle could probably pick it up and affect their other circle.
Yeah, that's the whole key.
And if we can help one person in every circle,
it's like a game of tag. Tag the person next to you.
We've done a good thing. And then if anybody knows any radio execs or TV execs and feels that this should be on a bigger platform, by all means, feel free to pull those chains, pull those connections.
Yeah, I think Fox and CNN are looking for a mindfulness show.
They should.
They could probably use it, right?
They should.
Yeah.
They should.
Okay. All right. Let's wind this puppy down.
Yes.
All right. So, everybody, thank you for showing up again. Hope you guys tune in, download, smash that like button, subscribe, whatever you got to do. And we will catch you guys next week. So, if you would do me the pleasure for the next couple of minutes, I'll try to keep it a little shorter today, just because we went a little longer. But I think it's important. So, let's just take those couple of breaths, however you're sitting. And this is, again, whatever's happening in your mind as you're breathing in, holding, and breathing out, using a repetition that's comfortable for you, whether it's 3 to 4 seconds, 4 to 5, whatever you're comfortable with. Any thoughts that do come up as you're breathing, notice them and just let them go. Refocus on your breath. Same thing if there's an emotion or some sort of a feeling in your body, notice where it is and let it pass. Or if it sticks around, allow it to be there. Don't beat yourself up if it does not pass. Allowing it to be there is the control and the power that you actually do have. Bring that attention to your breath as often as you can, as many times as you have to. There's no barometer here for what's successful or what's not successful. The practice of doing this is the success of it. So as long as you're here and you're practicing this and you're focusing on your breath as I'm speaking, then you are successful at this because you're doing it and you're working towards constantly improving a part of yourself that most of us forget we have. Let's take 2 more. One last one. And open your eyes. I tried to keep that one nice and short for you guys. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you want to stay here, continue breathing for a while. It's the best thing you could do. And do those little meditations whenever you can. And we will catch you guys next time.
A pleasure.
All right. All right, guys. Take care. Peace. The insights and discussions that we speak about on our show are our own opinions and based on our life experiences. If you or someone in your family or someone you know is suffering and in need of help, please get them that help through medical attention or seeking proper therapy. Again, what we speak about are based on our experiences and not intended to be taken as a form of therapy. Thank you.